computer. All right. Hey guys, happy Tuesday. I feel like I don't ever know what the day is anymore. Welcome. I'm so pumped that you guys are able to be on here tonight. If you do not know me, if I'm not your superstar director, my name is Amber Ryan. I am the superstar director of Feet to Faith, and we have a wonderful special guest tonight. I was able to secure her as our special guest speaker tonight. So we opened this up to Anchored Sense and then the other superstar directors that are in Anchored Sense. So if you were able to be on here, I'm so excited for you guys to be here. So without any further ado, KACIA FITZGERALD, if you do not know her, you are going to fall in love with her. She's actually somebody I reached out to and tried to figure out when the right time to step away from teaching was. So without further ado, here you go. I'm going to spotlight you.
I love it. What's up, guys? Amber, thank you so much for having me. I'm so freaking pumped to be here with you guys tonight. And my intention is I want to light a little fire under your butt to do the thing, or to crank it up a notch, or really just to give yourself credit for how far you've come and kind of give you a little virtual hug. So that's the vibe that I'm going for tonight. If you don't know me, if I don't know you yet, my name is KACIA FITZGERALD. I am the host of Empower Her podcast, and I'm the founder of She Goes Company. I also have a background in network marketing. I love network marketing. I think it's such a huge opportunity that you guys have in front of you, and you really get to customize it to what you want it to be, which I think is so freaking powerful. But as you guys know, as entrepreneurs that are building businesses and juggling all the things, some of you guys drop in the chat if you are responsible for keeping tiny humans alive while also keeping yourself alive and building a business and potentially working another job and doing all these things. Like, we've got a lot, right? Yes. We need a little, Naomi's ready to get a little kick in the butt, ready to take notes. Let's go. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So you guys are doing a lot. Which means you know that we are the ones that stand in our own way, right? It's often, you probably have access with the teams that you guys are on, like you have access to incredible resources. It's not a lack of knowledge that's not getting you where you want to go, right? It's not a lack of resources, especially not in 2021 with all the resources that you guys have being part of this ecosystem. It might just be that you are standing in your own way from a mindset perspective. So what I really want to chat with you about tonight is a couple of things that have been really helpful for me as an entrepreneur, but also just as a human to navigate being a human, because let's be real, the last year and a half has been a curveball. And when you're trying to navigate so much at one time, especially if maybe you're newer to this business, or you're trying to figure out how much you want to crank it up a notch, everybody's at different stages, but it's really important to recognize that at any given time, you can decide what worked for me in the past maybe isn't working for me now, or what I was doing in the past isn't getting me the results that I wanted. So I want to crank it up a notch in my mindset or in the action that I'm taking. And we're going to dive into all of that. Okay. Drop in the chat a little booyah, a little let's go. It's 8 p.m. for some of you guys. I know it's late. You're oh my gosh, I'm kind of tired. It's been a long Tuesday, but no, you guys, we have one shot here, one life that we get to do everything that we want to do. You guys have dreams. You're not showing up on a team call like this or watching a recording unless you really give a crap about your business and you care about the impact that you're going to make. You care about the people that are watching you, that you can inspire to take action in their lives, right? So we're here for it. We're buckled up. We're doing it. Okay. Number one thing I want to talk about is calling your actual shot. I understand that some of you guys think that you've called your shot, right? You think that you're well, I have this business I'm really excited about. I've talked about it. I mean, my friends and family know that I'm doing it. They know that I'm doing it, but have you actually called your shot? Internally, have you made an actual decision? Because sometimes we wait until we're going to feel ready to crank it up a notch. But especially those of you that are keeping humans alive, when do things slow down? When do things ever slow down? There's never going to be a right time. So I want to challenge you to think how can I actually call my shot right here, right now? And how can I really get more skin in the game? Because what's so interesting about this, right, is being signed up in a business like this, you're getting a discount on products. There's lots of reasons that you would want to do this. But what's going to actually make you want to show up and do the work? Because nobody's going to fire you if you don't, right? This is not a corporate job where if you don't show up to work on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, and do that a couple of times in a row, you're probably going to get your butt fired, right? But here, nobody's holding you accountable. So what are you going to do to call your shot and actually get that skin in the game? Well, what works really well for me, and whatever it was, when I started my podcast, Empower Her, back when I started my network marketing business, when I started my new company, I had to really play out like, who is going to benefit as a byproduct of me going for this? And who is going to be negatively impacted if I don't? Those two questions are so powerful. And I think as humans during different seasons of our life and just, personality differences, some of us are really motivated by like how good it can get. And some of us are motivated by like, ooh, I want to avoid this pain of how bad it could be if I don't do that thing. So when you're really thinking about calling your shot and wanting to step up in your business, sometimes we think it's like, oh, I need to do X, Y, Z. But really it's like, we need to figure out like why we're actually here. Like, who else is impacted by your decision? I'm not just saying your decision to do, what Amber did and like leave the teaching world. That's not everybody's goal. That doesn't have to be your goal. That doesn't, whatever the person that signed you up in this business, you don't have to have the same goal as them. That's what's so beautiful about this business. You can make it whatever you want, right? But it is important to know why you're actually doing this and have that like oomph to actually do it and want to show up, because life is going to get crazy. And sometimes it's the easiest thing to just push off your already overflowing plate. Drop in the chat if you've had a season like that in your business where you're like, oh, it's the easiest thing to push off because my kids are sick, because my in-laws are in town, because I'm feeling all over the place, because I'm in a busy season at work. But we know that consistency is the secret sauce, right? Which we're going to dive into in a second. But I really want you to think, who is going to benefit by me showing up to this business? Because as you know, in a business like this, you're focused on who you are as a person, right? Every single one of you here wants to help people, right? In some capacity. I don't want to say this, but like, if you don't want to help people, you're really in the wrong business model. Like, you should probably quit because like, this is not for you. You want to help people. And I love that about you. And I think that's really important, but like, really think about the people that are in your life, whether it's your kids or your future kids, your significant other, your sister, your best friends. Maybe you just want to be a model to other people, a testimony of what's possible for other people by your example of showing up and being the type of woman that just goes for it, right? Even if some random girl on third, that you were friends with in third grade, like doesn't get your business, but you're showing up because you're like, this is going to change the legacy that I can leave behind for my kids. This is going to change my trajectory as a person, because what's so cool about a business like this is you've got to navigate having conversations with people. You've got to navigate putting yourself out there, putting content out into the world. These skills are transferable, guys, to every single aspect of your life. You're going to be a better human being by showing up to learn how to build this business, which is so freaking cool. And so important that we recognize, oh, mute yourself, girl. You don't want to be the girl that doesn't mute yourself. Okay, we're good. So truthfully, and by the way, if you're like, oh my gosh, that was me and you're sweating weird places, we've all done that. So it's totally fine. Point is, I want you to figure out who's going to benefit as a byproduct of me going for this, and start to actually visualize some people in your life that are going to benefit from you being a happy, full, excited, passionate person. I'm not just talking about how much money you're going to make or what rank you're going to achieve or whatever. I'm talking about literally you just being excited. For some of you, drop in the chat if this is a stream of fulfillment for you, right? Not just income, a stream of fulfillment for you, where you're making friends. You feel like you've got a lot of purpose and passion. You're growing as a human being, right? Like, that's really awesome that you have the opportunity to show up to a business that can actually earn you income and change the trajectory of your family's future or change your lifestyle. And it's also helping you grow as a person. But I think it's almost like we got to call our shot a little bit more and loop in that person that's close to you of why this actually matters to you. Some of you are going to leave this call and you're going to not remember anything that I say. You're going to be like, that girl had a lot of energy. Like, who is her? Like, should I listen to her podcast? I don't know. Right? You might be feeling that way, but I want you to remember this thing, because some of you just need to hear this alone. Who in your life do you need to have a conversation with about why this business actually matters to you? Because you might be being like, oh, it's my like fun little side thing. Like, I don't really care about it. But deep down, you really do. Someone needs to hear that, right? Or like, oh yeah, like it's just this thing that I do. It's like, it's not a big deal, but it's a big deal to you because you really care about it, right? Who in your life do you need to have a real conversation and sit down and be like, hey, this is what support for this business actually looks like for me. Can you just like help with the kids for a second to your significant other? right? To your mom, to your sister, can you tell them why this really matters to you? Can you call your shot a little bit more? Because those people in your life, you don't need anybody else's, support to go do this thing. Like, it's your job to believe in yourself. Like, number one, it is your job to believe in yourself. Everybody else, that's just icing on the cake. But truly, sometimes we like to say that other people don't support us, but we haven't actually had a real conversation with them of why this matters, right? So then we get frustrated they don't support us, but we didn't even tell them why this matters, right? So call your shot. Who's going to benefit as a byproduct? Who could be negatively impacted if you don't? And if there is, for those of you that this is applicable for, if there is someone that you're like, KACIA, holy crap, do you have cameras in my house? I do. I know you need to talk to your significant other about this, right? So whatever that is for you, call your shot. Number two, so powerful for me with building a business and building a podcast and building a personal brand on social media, and just really trying to get out of my own way to be honest and vulnerable and authentic and not try and pretend like I have my ish all together, because I don't, right? Is really honing in on what I like to think about as this micro focus and macro vision. Okay. It's kind of this dance that we do between micro focus of what do I need to do today to win the day, and macro vision of where do I really want to go. And this is the thing that where I really want to go, it feels kind of crazy if you said it out loud to people that aren't in an ecosystem like this, or maybe to some of your friends that think you're a little crazy, or you're the big dreamer, you're the ambitious one, or you're the crazy one, whatever, right? Because some of you feel that way. Drop in the chat if you are kind of the ambitious one in your circle, right? Besides all the people that you're connected with here, but you're kind of people are oh, she's got another idea. Oh, she's doing this thing. A lot of this business is going to attract a lot of people like that. We go together. I get you, girl. Okay. But the thing that I want you to really think about is that macro vision. I believe with every single morsel of my being that if you were gifted a dream or a vision on your heart, that it's for you. Maybe you don't know how you're going to get there. Maybe you don't have all the resources yet, but it is for you. You are gifted the resourcefulness to figure it out. And it is your job to take this gift of this vision that you have that's not going to look like anybody else's, even the person that signed up at the same time as you, the best friend that you've made in this business, the person that's enrolled you in this business. It's not going to look like anybody else's. It is your dream, and it is your job to get out of your own damn way to make that dream a reality, right? And this is going to be one of many dreams that you have of what you can do with this business. But when I say macro vision, I don't mean the next rank in your business. I mean, how do you want to impact the world or your family? The thing that makes you kind of want to pee your pants or maybe poop your pants. I don't know. I'm not here to judge, right? Because you're holy crap, this is so big, right? This means a lot to me. Drop in the chat if you can connect with me on that, where you're you've got something, you're I try and shove it down, but it gets so uncomfortable because I have this big vision. And sometimes I try and play small because I'm scared that I'm not close to where I am, to where I want to go. I have so much distance. This is why this dance, a lot of you can connect to that. Okay, cool. A lot of us, I think, struggle with the space between where we are now and where we want to go, right? Because for big dreamers like me and maybe you, right, that distance is massive. I'm not even close to where I want to be yet. I feel I've just scratched the surface on my potential here. And maybe you can feel that too. So we've got to be very cautious of how we're labeling that space, because there's always going to be space. As constantly evolving, driven women, we've got to be careful that we don't label that space as overwhelming, or we don't think about how far we have to go and forget to look at how far we've come, right? That we don't label that space as intimidating. How am I ever going to get there? I'm not qualified yet. Duh. Of course you're not qualified yet. How do you get qualified? You qualify yourself in the process, right? You can't lead a team of 100 if you haven't led a team of 10, right? And in fact, what I think is really powerful, and I think about this all the time, so often we want to get to that next thing faster, right? Drop in the chat if you've had this feeling where you're oh, I just wish I was making X amount of dollars faster. I just wish I had this team size faster. I wish I was at this rank. I wish I was at this blah, 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 right? We want to get there faster. We also then live in a culture that's Amazon Prime culture. We want everything yesterday. But in reality, if you're honest with yourself, could you handle it yet? Right? I think about that with even our goals with the podcast and the community that I want to build. I'm if I had 1 million downloads a month, that's a goal in the next 2 years. I'm not the person that can manage that amount of people listening to my podcast yet. I'm not the person who is confident enough yet. As confident as I am, I'm qualifying myself to be confident enough to have that many ears listening into me so I can stay true to who I am and stay authentic and feel very confident in who I am as a person. I want that later, but I'm working on it now. Drop in the chat if you can connect with that, right? Feeling proud of yourself for where you are now, excited about where you're going and not wishing for it to come faster. I'm not saying don't have goals, but I'm saying maybe we kind of rethink the perspective, right? About how this season is serving you. The no's that you're getting right now, the people that you feel like aren't listening to you, you're like, I'm putting out this content. Is anyone like hitting home with this? That's building grit and resilience, girl. And guess what? You're going to need that when your team is even bigger. You're going to need that when your dreams are even bigger. You're going to need these character building moments along the way to give you that platform that you can look back at and be like, that was hard for me then, but I worked through it and look where I am now. Right? Don't rob yourself of confidence building opportunities, of character building opportunities. Grit and resilience and character, that is not built when it's rainbows, butterflies, everybody saying yes to you, everybody wanting to join your team, everybody want to buy products from you. That's not when it's built. You don't get to learn when it's all easy peasy, lemon squeeze. I don't know. I'm just kidding in my mind, right? Point is, when you go through your business building seasons, of having a micro focus and a macro vision. Woo, girl, are any guys on here? I don't know, but girl, I'm so used to saying girl. Sorry about that, but that's when it gets really good, right? So I want to challenge you when you're thinking about even just like your goals and your vision, how you're breaking down each week. What do I need to do today to win the day? That's going to look different every single day. That's going to look different in different seasons. For those of you that I'm connected with on social media, or you do listen to the podcast, you know, I just went through a really tough season. My fiance actually lost his dad. So tough, right? So my criteria of what I needed to do to win the day was so different then versus now, right? So part of it is season. You know, if you're in a mode where you're like, I'm ready to crank it up a notch in my business, and you're in a mode like that, or you're in a mode where you're like, I need to work on myself a lot right now. You can still make steps in the right direction. Baby steps still get you there, right? And we want that momentum. Momentum and direction is so much more important than speed for you to stay steadfast in a business like this, right? So micro focus, what do I need to do today to win the day? Macro vision, what's that big vision of where I want to go? And how can I live in the dance in between, where I'm labeling that space between where I am now and where I want to go with something that actually serves me, right? That's when it gets really good, right? So think about that on a day-to-day basis. And there's a book called Atomic Habits, which if you haven't read it, it's by James Clear, Atomic Habits. And the way that he describes it is essentially stacking the wins. And the goal is not to break the chain, right? So you're like, what are my wins? Like, what are the 3 things that I need to do to move my business forward, to move me forward as a person? Check, 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 stack the days. And the goal is not necessarily to have massive amounts of like crush it all every single day, but it's to stack those days so you don't break that chain. So you build up confidence that when life does throw you a curveball, you still want to show up, right? Now, from that, we've got call our shot. We're thinking about who's going to benefit as a byproduct, who's going to be negatively impacted if we don't. We're thinking about if there's someone in our life that we need to have a conversation with and actually own how much we love this business and how important this is to us. And stop being embarrassed. Can we just like get on that for a second? Why are you embarrassed that you're working hard on something that you care about? How cool is it that you have something that you care about? So many people, you guys, I get so many DMs of people that are in the podcast community. So many people want something that they care about. And right here, right now, you're watching this live or you're watching this recording because you care about this. Let's see what happens when you actually go for it, right? And whatever that looks like for your goals and your vision. And number 2 is that micro focus, macro vision. From there, the secret sauce to building confidence, honestly, to growing a business is really that consistency piece, right? Which is like so hard. Drop in the chat if you struggle with consistency, right? I actually really want to know if you do this. You build your business like you're driving a stick shift car up a hill and you're like a brand new driver and it's raining, where you're like, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. And you're just like, your seatbelt's like clicking. You're like, oh my gosh, like it's like freaking crazy. Right? Right? Naomi, oh my gosh, so bad. Brittany, Jessica, yeah, April. Okay. Welcome to the club. It's called being human. There's 7 billion of us. So like, here we are together. Okay. Point is, in a business where you're trying to focus on building confidence, because some people, no matter what you say, are not going to get it, you've got to focus on the consistency piece to help you show up as a human, to build confidence. And then also so you can build credibility and trust with your audience, right? They need to know that they can count on you, which is super important for me as a podcaster, making sure that I'm showing up, putting out 2 episodes a week consistently so people know that they can count on me. And it's super important for you as a business owner, right? So that people know that you're going to keep showing up. You're going to tell them what's going on. You're going to share how these products, work in your life and how they could benefit them too, right? So what I think is really helpful for me to stay consistent, and why this has actually been one of my secret sauces of just building a business in general, is this consistency piece. And it's because first, I'm making a conscious choice, right? Like I pick what I'm going to be consistent at, and then I pick what I'm willing to drop. Okay. Let me say that again. If you're like cruising around, I'm picking what I'm going to be consistent at, and I'm picking what I'm willing to drop. Because if you really think about it, your life is like a pizza pie, right? Just hold on. I'm going to like make this make sense. Okay. Your life is like a pizza pie. So obviously you've got all these different slices, which take a different amount of time. When all of a sudden you've decided that you're now going to insert this business and you're going to start building it, or maybe you've been building it for a while and you've been toe dipping, and you're like, I'm in, I'm out. Like, and you're like, no, I just want to cannonball in, like whatever it is for you. Obviously that's going to cut from some other area of your life. And where I feel like we struggle and really dig unintentionally at our own confidence is when we think that we can add more things to our plate and that somehow we can still show up to everything, right? Especially for those of us that struggle with people-pleasing tendencies. Drop in the chat if you struggle with people-pleasing tendencies. And please notice that I didn't say that you are a people pleaser. I don't like that terminology because it sounds like it's conditional. Conditional statements meaning like, I am this, I can never change, right? Versus a situational statement, you've got tendencies that lean towards that. You can absolutely change that. You can work on building up your no muscle. You can work on reminding yourself that when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, right? You only have so much pizza pie to go around, right? So making sure that when you make a focus where you're like, I am going to crank it up in my business, what are you willing to drop a little bit? What are you willing to not be as consistent with, right? Is that like your TV shows? Is it you scrolling? It's interesting because often we scroll, I want to see who's brave enough to admit this. We scroll social media, looking at other people building their business, wishing that we had the business that they had. But if we took the time that we spent looking at them building their business and actually built ours, we would have their business. Drop in the chat if that's you. I want to hear who the brave people are that can admit that. Yes, Amy, Tina, Debbie, Michelle, Jessica. Okay, yeah, a lot of you guys. It's just real, right? We're like, how did she get there? Like, how did she do that? Well, while you were watching her, she was just doing it. That's it. She doesn't have some unicorn dust that's coming out of her veins. She doesn't have some secret sauce that you don't. She just did the work, right? Maybe she had that conversation with herself of what am I going to be consistent at and what am I willing to drop? And maybe back to number one, she thought so deeply about who was going to benefit as a byproduct and who would be negatively impacted if she didn't. And she had to live with that shoulda, woulda, coulda. I wonder what would have happened if I actually tried, right? Because you know the difference between half-ass and full-ass effort. Okay. Sorry if I can't say ass, and I just said it 3 times, but like really, you know the difference. Everyone's like, you do you. Yeah. Gabe, put the full ass in, not one ass cheek, full ass. Okay. That's what we're going to do. If that's what you know for yourself that you need, and you want to go in on this and you want to crank this up a notch, be willing to say, this is okay with me if I drop this, right? I'm not going to bake the cookies for school. I'm buying the cookies. Like, I'm not afraid to say that. Like, I'm not, you guys, I don't even have kids. I'm not baking the cookies. Like, I'm buying them. I don't care because other things are going to matter more to me. So figuring out what are those things for you. And how do you want to craft this life where you can be consistent, because consistency helps build confidence, right? And that's all you really need in this business, because people are going to tell you no. People are gonna be like, oh, you have one of those, like, you're one of those businesses, like, oh, okay. And then you have like Aunt Sally Sue that's gonna be like, I love toxic products. And you're like, what? Like, whatever, right? You're gonna have that. You're gonna have that happens to you. That's just part of it. But when you build confidence, that's when the game changes, right? This is one of the best possible confidence building things that you can do, is build a business like this. I don't think that there's any way I could have started a podcast or put myself out there or spoken on some of the stages that I've had opportunities to speak on if I didn't build a business like this and have so many people tell me no, that I literally had to figure out how to navigate that and how to detach a little bit from the outcome of things, right? Like, someone saying no to you, first of all, is a not right now often, right? Let's just, for sake of this example, drop in the chat when you first heard about this business, whether someone reached out to you or you thought about it on social media, you said no, either via DM or in your head. I would never do something like that. Or, oh, thank you so much for reaching out, or just like ghosted, right? How many of you guys said no? Okay. Yeah, Amber, 2.5 years to say yes. Said no about 10 times, Amy, no for almost a year. How funny is it that when someone else says no to us, then we decide that means that we're not cut out for this? Girl, take that finger that you're pointing at them. Like, why does Sarah Beth 276 not want to join this? Like, oh, I must not be good at this. Like, I knew that I couldn't do this spiral, look for all the evidence to confirm that to be true. Oh my gosh, I didn't show up for this, blah, 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 right? When in reality, that finger that we're pointing at Sarah Beth 2976, boop, how long did it take you, girl? It took you a long time. Creeper's going to creep. There are so many people creeping on you that are going to be your new best friends in like 6 months, 1 year. That's just the way it goes, right? We know it, but it's so funny because we tell ourselves these BS stories that we're like, oh, I knew I wasn't cut out for this, right? No, you're cut out for this because you're here, right? You get to choose what to do with this opportunity, but let's keep this perspective in check, right? And one of the reasons that I think we often struggle with this comparison element of this is because, like I said, we spend a lot of time scrolling social media, looking at what other people are doing, but we forget to ask ourselves what we want, right? Not what you think you should want. Let's apply this to life and to your business, right? Not because you're 30, because you're 35, you should be doing X, Y, Z. Because you're a woman, because you signed up at the same time as this person, you should be at this, you should be, no. Like, literally, when's the last time that you said everybody else's expectations, push them away? What do I want? What do I, Virginia, want? What do I, Bree, want? What do I, Brandy, want? What do I, Brittany, want? As a human, what do you want in your life? Not what somebody else is telling you that you're capable of, not what somebody else told you that you could have, not what someone told you you should want. What do you actually want? Because what's so interesting is when you know what you want, you stop comparing yourself and your timeline and, really the amount of time that it's taking you to get to your goals to anybody else's. I'm in a 12.5-year relationship and we're not married yet. And I have been in so many weddings of people that have been together for way less time than us. But because I'm so confident in my own path, I'm not envious at all. At all. Because I'm like, I love my path and I'm so excited for you for your path. And like, some of my best friends have no interest in entrepreneurship at all, right? And I'm not comparing myself to them. I'm doing my lane and they're doing their lane and we get to clap for each other. But if we don't slow down for a second and ask ourselves those questions, like, what do I actually want? And maybe even if you have a significant other, bringing them in on those questions too. Like, what do we want? Like, what do we want to co-create for our life? What do I want as an individual? How do I want to show up in the world? What do I care about? Right? And tie that to your business, not just because you think you should want this next goal, not because some arbitrary, there's so much like rage about like build a 6-figure business, build an XYZ, have X amount, like, but what do you actually want for you? Right? And then when you find yourself comparing to someone else, why don't you, instead of thinking that they have something that you don't, and doing this thing that we do as humans where we like compare our behind the scenes. We always do this. You guys. Okay. Drop in the chat if you do this, where you are like no bra, like you spilled salsa on your white shirt. You just got into a fight with your significant other. You've got a messy bun, no makeup, and you're scrolling and you're looking at like Sharon's Instagram, and she's got like an office like shoulder sweater, and her hair's like blowing in the wind. She's full of makeup, and she's like, my business is great. My marriage is amazing. My butt is so tight. Like my life is great. And you're like, what's wrong with me? Right? How often do we do that? We compare our behind the scenes to somebody else's ridiculously curated and so filtered highlight reel. And then we're like, ugh, right? So like, let's keep that in check, right? Because here's the thing. I am so tired of carefully curated, pretending like everybody's ish is together. Drop in the chat if that's you too. We're like, when I see people that are like, oh, my marriage is so great, everything in my life is perfect, I'm like, you need to go to therapy because you've got some stuff going on, because everybody's got issues. We all have issues, right? So remember that. But then if you find someone who you're actually really attracted to how they show up in the world, because you're like, gosh, she's a mom of two like me, she's building a business like this, like she's done this, guess what? Clap so damn hard for her, because she is living, breathing proof of what's possible for you too. I'm not talking about Sharon with her off the shoulder sweater, hair blowing in the wind, talking about perfection. I'm talking about the woman that you're following on social media that's like really real about how tough it is sometimes, right? That you're like, gosh, but she still did this. You can do it too. She does not have anything that you don't. She just decided that this was for her and she was willing to put the work in. And the amount of times that she's failed, I guarantee you this, the amount of times that she has failed and got herself back up has gifted her this grit and resilience, which is why she keeps showing up, because it feels so uncomfortable for her to stay down because she's fallen down so many times and got up so many times. So when you're falling down, remind yourself when you feel like you're failing, you're like, oh, nobody's joining me. This sucks. I'm down to myself, all this stuff. And you pull yourself back up. You're literally building the skill set that someone else out there is watching you as their version of who you watch. And what I mean by that is you don't think that you're inspiring someone? I call BS. There is someone who is watching, creeping, typing your name into Instagram because she doesn't want to follow you, because if she follows you, like, what if you send her a message and you want her to join this thing and she's not ready, right? Or she doesn't even like, she's never going to say anything to you. She's definitely not going to like your picture or comment. No way. But she's creeping. And she's watching you struggle through a tough time in your relationship, in your marriage, in your postpartum journey. She's watching you be honest about how hard it is to build a business sometimes, right? And you are literally her proof that if you can do it, so can she. So if you choose to give up, you're not just giving up on you and your kids or your dreams or your macro vision, but you're also giving up on her too. Because she needs to see someone exactly like you. You're like, no, KACIA, I'm an introvert. Great. You're building a business online. You literally don't even have to go talk to people in real life, right? Oh, but KACIA, like, I only have 200 followers on Instagram. Great. You know that someone else needs to watch you with 200 followers to turn this into an awesome business? They need to watch someone in your exact situation do this. So please don't rob her of the experience of getting to watch you, just like you would never want the person that's inspired you to take action to rob you, right? Because she chose not to show up. So other people that have gone before you in any capacity of your life, I always look at, I do this weird thing because I want to write a book one day, not right now. And that's not because of a fear thing. It's just because like I don't want to write a book right now. But whenever I go to like Hudson News stores in the airport, I always look and try and find women that have been on, or men that have been on my podcast, like as interview guests. I find their physical book. And if I'm actually friends with them, I will like text a picture of their book to them and be like, I just clapped for you in Hudson News. Like I saw your book, right? Or I'll take an Instagram story of their book. I'm like, yes, like you are proof. You're paving the way for me. I'm so freaking grateful for your example. Get into the habit of starting to celebrate and watch that abundance mentality blow your freaking mind, right? And also, when we're talking about comparison, I do want to just like touch on this real quick. It is so freaking important that you're really conscious of the stories that you're telling yourself right now. Okay. This might be wake up and you're falling asleep. I don't know if you could because I'm so freaking loud, but here's the thing. Some of you, this might be the only thing that you need to take from this call. are the stories that you're telling yourself actually serving you? Because we know what our brains do. Our brains are like computers, right? Whatever questions we ask our brains, they're going to look for evidence to support that to be true. So if you're saying things like, oh, why do I suck at this? Why is no one joining me in this? Like, oh, why do I suck at social media? Oh, why do I never have time for this? Oh, why did I say that I was going to do this and I didn't follow through? Some of you are asking really crappy questions. And then you're wondering why you're getting really crappy answers, right? Drop in the chat if you're picking up what I'm putting down. We know that our brains are like computers. We know that it is so necessary. If you ask yourself in the morning, you wake up in the morning, I get DMs this question all the time. KACIA, how do you have so much energy? How are you such a morning person? I literally ask myself every single morning while I'm brushing my teeth, what I'm excited about for the day. I'm priming my brain to be excited. And then my brain is scanning for things I'm excited about. I'm not sitting there brushing my teeth being like, oh, I'm so tired. Oh my gosh, I have so much I have to do today. My life sucks. Like, then my brain's going to look for all the things. Like, I still have to go to like the gynecologist and do my taxes. Like, that stuff is not fun, but I'm priming my brain to get excited about what's happening for the day. You always have that choice, right? We all do. So ask better questions, get better answers, right? But if we forget that and we're curating this story in our head, and then we're feeding it with more information, like, oh, why do I suck? Oh, I have so far to go to get where I want to go, right? Like, oh, am I ever going to get there? Oh, right? You're going to find evidence. Whatever you look for, you will absolutely find. I promise you that. And I know that you know that, but like, I know, like, I really think of us, like, if you do listen to the podcast, I say this all the time, I think of us like we're girlfriends chatting over coffee, wine, spicy margarita. Like, we're friends, we're in this together. But I want to be your friend that reminds you that, like, you're the one that you're living with. Like, this is the environment that you are guaranteed to have every single second of every single day for as long as you live. You are the only place that you're ever going to live is your head. Please make sure that it's actually a great place to live, that's supportive and conducive of where you want to go. Because literally stopping and just taking note of the questions that you're asking yourself and the statements that you're saying throughout your day is going to change the game completely, right? Anytime that someone says no to you, you have the choice to make that mean whatever you want, right? Anytime someone doesn't text you back, you have the choice to make that mean whatever you want, right? In your relationships, if one of my friends doesn't text me back because I texted them, I am not thinking that they don't like me or they don't care about what I said. I'm thinking that they're busy. Because, like, I forget to text people back, right? Just like if you DM someone and you ask them to join you and they don't respond to you, remember, you need some creepers, because a lot of you guys are creepers where you got to creep for a while. But also, because let's just assume, because we always get the choice, let's just assume they read it, they're interested, now they're just going to creep. Instead of assuming that you're not cut out for this. Why make that assumption, right? Then, from there, one random little tip. I literally wrote down like 6 words on a notepad. That's why I'm like going all over the place, because I was just like, these are the 6 words that feel like I should talk to them about today, okay? This is so crucial. Why are you following people on social media that trigger you, right? Because just like we get to control our thoughts, which then drive our behaviors and our actions, we also get to choose who we follow. So if you catch yourself following someone that's triggering you, please remember there's a mute button or there's just an unfollow button. Get so dang intentional about curating an environment in your head first, because that's the place that you're always going to be, but around you that's conducive to getting you where you want to go, including the type of content that you're consuming. We live in a world right now where there is so much polarizing content that is so freaking negative. If you feel like you're negative and you're watching 2 hours of the news every day, I don't care what side you're on, you're going to feel frustrated. Create an environment that's helpful for you, that's supportive. You deserve to make all of your dreams come true, right? Drop in the chat if you feel like you deserve it. And even if sometimes you struggle to like think that you're worthy and think that you're capable, that you know, like in your gut, you know that you deserve this. You know that other people get to see your example, like that are going to benefit as a byproduct, right? From that, I want to touch on you guys. Yes, let's go on what day is today? Tuesday. Let's go on a Tuesday. Okay. The other thing I want to remind you of, that is, it's why I do network marketing calls fully, is because I think it's such a huge opportunity that you have right now in front of you in terms of the business that you can build and the options that it can give for you in the future, but also the person that you're going to become, right? And how much, like I mentioned in the beginning, how much the things that you're doing right now infiltrate into every aspect of your life, how you show up in your relationships, how you show up if you have a corporate job in addition, right? How it shows up in every single avenue of what you're doing is from the confidence that you're building here. So I really want you to build this connection with the future version of you. And I think about this every single day. I'm not kidding. I've got a relationship with me in 6 months, a relationship with me in a year. And I have a big, like long-term vision of thinking of what I'm going to do that's going to give options for our future family and the type of family dynamics that we want to have. And I have very unborn kids right now. Like that is not even on the radar. So what do you want your future version of you to look back at this version of you now and thank her for? Because it's not going to feel like you're making massive amounts of progress every day. It's going to feel like you're just chipping away, right? Little by little, those tiny little things that are easy to do, but they're also easy not to do. That's really what changes the game, right? It's going to be really, really easy for you to say, I don't have time. But it's also easy for you to find 20 minutes to do something that's going to move the needle forward to help you build confidence and to help you get closer to those goals and dreams that you have, right? So what do you want 6 months from you now to say about this version of you? Do you want her to be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for continuing to show up. Thank you for pushing hard and doing the things that got me where I am now. Thank you for opening up doors for me. I started my business network marketing in January of 2014. Okay. Back when I built this, I built it from January 2014 to January of 2020. I had no idea the doors that it would open, right? I had no idea the confidence that it would build. I had no idea the income potential that it would have. I had no idea that the business that I built then that supported my then boyfriend, now fiance, going through NYU dental school while building a business just like this, right? That I supported us fully, that had me leave the corporate world, which my last corporate job was at Google in corporate recruiting, and get to go on to build a business like this. I had no idea that fast forward 6 years later, he would be leaving dentistry because of the skills that I learned in this business, the community that I built from this business that gave me the confidence to launch a podcast and launch another business. I had no idea. But when I think of the woman that I was, let's be honest, the girl that I was in January of 2014, when I was so scared of what everyone thought about me posting on social media, you guys, I post like a picture of a turkey sandwich and I'd be like, oh, I literally couldn't even do that back then because I was so scared. But I think back to that version of me and I'm like, oh my God, I am so damn grateful for you that you tried and you sucked and you kept going and you got better. And eventually when you kept putting your reps in, you got pretty dang good. And then you got great and you had alignment and you were excited. I'm so grateful for those options that I gave myself. I didn't even know what was coming. You don't even know yet what's coming for you next, right? Which is really powerful to think about. But right now, this stream of income that you're building, this stream of fulfillment that you're building, the people that you're meeting, the confidence, the character building that comes from building a business like this is going to serve a future version of you. Give her so many gifts. Give her options, right? Give her everything that you don't even know that you want yet. You're literally opening doors for future you. And gosh, that's really cool to think about, you know? You're not going to know how you're going to get there. You're not going to know, you're going to stumble so many times along the way and have all these twists and turns. But I think it's really powerful to think about that. And one of the things that I think about that's a gift that I'm going to give to, just watch, we're going to have like twin boys. I always think about our future daughter. And I think about how I know that I'm going to tell her, like, little girl, like, you can do anything that you set your mind to. I want to know that she can look back at me and say, Mom, I know I can. I watched you. Right? Not you told me that I could. I watched you. I want to be living, breathing proof of what's possible for a lot of women out there, right? But also for my own kids. Because we remember the example that people set. We remember how people make us feel. We don't always remember what they say, right? But right now, who is benefiting as a byproduct of you going for this? How's it going to feel if later you look back and you're like, I wonder what would have happened if I actually cranked it up a notch? I wonder if you'll regret it if you didn't really try. I'm not saying you have to do this for 800 million years. Maybe you do. That's awesome. Great. But some of you, like, I wonder if you'll wonder or feel regret that you kind of half-assed and toe-dipped when you really in your gut wanted to cannonball and full ass, both butt cheeks, like real get in there, right? I wonder. So gift yourself in the future options and opportunities and understand that how you're showing up right here, right now is massively impacting other people. Even when you don't feel like it, even when you're like, oh, nobody on social media is like following this, or nobody watches this, or nobody commented on this, people are watching you and you're showing them what's possible for them too. And I think that's one of the biggest gifts that we can give as ambitious go-getter women, right? Which all of us like on this call live or watching this recording, like you've got something in you that's like, gosh, I want to do something. Like I want to do something else. Like I'm here to make an impact. Like I can see the potential with this. It's going to look different for everybody, but I can see it. Like, you know, right? So I want to honor you for showing up and navigating this, because it's hard, because we're our own worst critics. And it's hard because some people don't get it. And it's hard because there's a stigma sometimes against a business like this, but you know why you're here. You know who's going to benefit. You know how this can change future generations. And you know how this is going to change you as a person, right? So just know that I'm always here rooting for you. And you've got an awesome community that you're connected to. So don't ever say that it's a lack of resources. Don't let it be a lack of resourcefulness that doesn't get you where you want to go, you know? So I wanted to make sure I gave if you guys had any questions for me. And I also, if I can share my screen, I have a little thing for those of you that love like free stuff and want to connect. I have a little screen that I can share. And then I want to answer if anyone has any questions.
Yes, let me make you, let me see that. Let me remove spotlight and then make you co-host, and then you can share your screen.
Yay.
You should be able to now.
All right, cool. If you guys can see this drop in the chat, I want to just share a couple of totally free ways that we can connect if we're not connected yet. Okay, so one of them is if you listen to my podcast, Empower Her Podcast. If you don't, drop in the chat. Let me know if you listen to Empower Her. It's my podcast, Monday, Thursday podcast. We also have a totally free listener community that you can join, but check it out. I also have a totally free pump up text list where I send out little motivational texts. You can screenshot this slide, right? Or you can text the unicorn emoji to 512-548-2728. 512-548-2728. And you can jump on the text list. Like I said, Empower Her Podcast, totally free text list. And then also come connect with me on Instagram at KACIA.FITZGERALD, or at She Goes Company is my company. I just want to make sure I keep you in the loop. All of these things are totally free, just ways that I like to pump people up. Any questions to close out? Bree, you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I don't post on my YouTube channel. Come find me on Instagram because I don't know what you're going to find on there. Oh, I love you guys. This is so sweet. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat. But for those of you who really want to know if she's the one texting you, she is. Because she texted me 5 minutes before we hopped on here, and I didn't realize I wasn't on her text alert thing. So
I did. Here you go. For those of you that are just DMing, this is the screenshot of it. You can take a screenshot of this. Fun ways for us to connect outside of this. Amber, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys. I hope this was helpful for you. And I'm so grateful that we're connected. Thank you so much. I seriously appreciate it.
Thank you so much for hopping on here. I'm going to stop the recording now.
All right. All right. Bye, guys. Have a